Hi folks, Rick here. Welcome to my channel. Alrighty, well today we're going to be doing some brakes on my blue bike today. You know, if you haven't hit that subscribe button, please do. I'd really appreciate it. But yeah, I'm going to be showing you how to do check your brakes, or replace a few things, really inspect them really good. I'm going to be showing you how to do them here on the back, but the front one's just about the same. But I'll explain a little bit of differences there once I get to that point. But basically the same there. So let's go ahead. I'm going to reposition the camera here, and we'll get started. Okay, folks, I got repositioned here. One thing to note is I've recently had my axle completely out, so everything on here is loose. I just put it back together so I could show you the brakes. But so you'll notice there when I've taken it off, it's just going to come off pretty easy for me because, again, it's already been off. But first thing you want to do here, obviously do a general inspection of the thing there. Make sure there's nothing you can see visibly wrong. Want to check your cables or your brake lines, all that kind of stuff. One thing you want to do here is right here on the edge of your caliper, there's two brake pad pins that go all the way through. They hold your brake pins. You want to go ahead and loosen them. Just break them loose a little bit here. Once you take this off, they can get kind of tight, and once you take it off, it's kind of a handful to do it. So if you just break them loose now, don't take them out, just break them loose. That'll really help. So we'll go ahead and get started with that one. So once those are broken loose a little bit here, there's two, I can't really show you, it's back on here, but there's two bolts that hold this on. You look at your caliper on the back here, there's two bolts. See how easy they come out because they were just sitting there. But basically pull those off, and then you can remove your caliper here. So you can see up here on the front, I've loosened up my holders that hold my brake line here just to make it a little bit easier. But then you want to just pull this up, and you might have to pry it a little bit, wiggle it back and forth. But just pull this up here, and you can turn it over, and do some inspections with this thing here. So one thing I'm going to go ahead and do here is this brake caliper. I don't know even what this is called. It's like a floating arm. I'm going to go ahead and just pull straight up on this one. You can see it slides out. We'll set this aside. This will allow us to see our brake pads here a little bit. I'm just going to pull these out. Oh, yeah. So they're not going to come out here. So now that I got this thing apart here, now's the time we want to take out these brake pins. So you can see now, if I was trying to take these off really hard, it'd be really hard. But yeah, we'll go ahead and just take them off now. Again, they are what's holding the brake pads in. Boy, it's still pretty tight. Yeah, and they can get a little corroded. We'll go ahead and set those aside. Pull our pin or our pads out. From here, we kind of want to inspect things. So these pads have got a year on them. Looking at them, they're actually not in too bad a shape. Since I have them apart, I'd probably put new ones in. But you can go ahead in your manual and inspect these things. And I'll show you my new ones here as I'm going to replace these when you can get on. You'll see these really aren't all that bad. But you got in your manual, you'll tell you you can measure the thickness on there, but you also want to be careful on there. If you're doing any measure in multiple places, because these things can get wore out at an angle, and that can really make them not stop very well. We also want to check here for any leaks around our pistons. Make sure everything's nice and clean. There's no leaks. We want to check our arm here, whatever this thing's called. Check these glide pins here. They should be nice and smooth. This one's got a little bit of dirt in it, but it feels really good. I'm going to clean this one up. The last thing you want to do also here is inspect these glide pins here. So these ones here actually don't feel super bad, but they got some corrosion on them. I've actually bought some of these ones, but you know, like many things, they're still riding around in the mail, so I don't have those yet. So I'm going to stick these ones back in. From here, we want to check, I'll set this aside, we want to check our rotor. So there's a couple things you want to do here, and this is easy to do with a tire on it, but you want to spin this thing and make sure you check for run out. That's wobbling back and forth and also up and down like this one here. This one here, I checked earlier, it's actually pretty good, but there's tolerances of how much on there, but you should, I just eyeball this stuff. You should be able to look at this thing and not see it do anything. It should just be absolutely in line. The next thing here for me is the surface here. Now again, in your manual, there's probably some measurements you can take on this to tell you whether it's good or bad. I'm kind of getting a little bit of a C shape where it's obviously, because they don't ride here in the very end, and they are, you know, kind of in the middle here. They don't ride down here on the bottom either. So I can kind of feel where these things have been riding. So for me, I'm not really too much concerned about the specs. If this measures out to be in specs, I'm not putting this rotor back on. So I can already just tell for me, this is bad, so I'm not going to do any measurement. But if you want to, go ahead and measure it. And you can see here it's a little bit loose, so I've had that off as well. So what we need to do here now is we're going to go ahead, I'm going to go off camera here really quick, clean all this stuff up. And then we need to go ahead and start getting our parts out, and we'll start removing our rotors, and we'll get ready for our new brake pads, and we'll get this thing going. But it's a really simple process here. So yeah, let me go ahead and get things get cleaned up again. I'll reset the camera and we'll get going. All right, folks, so we're ready here. I've got these EBC Sintered brake pads that I like using. That's what's on here now. I'm going to be putting those on. I got a brand new Yamaha brake rotor. I'm going to put that on. Before I get started here though, let's go ahead and get this rotor here off. So you got to start by taking your hub off here on the side. Again, this one's loose already. Now if you're doing the fronts are the same thing. Unfortunately, obviously you don't have the axle, but this one here comes straight off. The one, the front's bolted to the back side of your hub. So you simply, basically the same process, you take off the cotter pins. Probably got the back side of my head here, but you basically take off the cotter pin, the bolts, and then just like this, your front hub slides off, and then your rotor's attached to the back of it. Wow, what do I do with the paper towels? Great. Yeah, hold on a minute. Emergency, oh, I'm stepping on them, here they are. Okay, so from here, you got 4 bolts here that circle this thing. And so you want to go ahead and get you want to make sure, one, that these are really cleaned out. These ones are Allen head, and you want to get a really good Allen wrench here and take them off here. So again, I've got these loose, but you may need to put a little bit of heat. Once I get this off, I'll show you where to pull the heat on, or put the heat on this thing, but these can be kind of tight. So take your time. If they're not coming off, you'll probably need to do a little bit of heat on the darn things to get them off. These ones here, I actually just was able to get off. When I pulled my axle off, they come right out. However, the ones on the front did not. When I was doing the front ones there, they all had to be heated up. So let's rotate this a little bit here. Well, I hate rotating this thing without a tire on it. So if you damage any of your bolts getting off, or you stripped any, or the heads are bad or something like that, this is a good time to go ahead and just put new ones on and be done with it. This one's was loose, but it's not. There we go. All right, so from here, we'll just slide them right off. So, okay. With this one here, if you need to do a little heat, again, you'll have to watch out there and be very gentle. Try what you can to get it off there. But you've got a seal right back here, and you don't want to damage that thing here. But this is what you want to heat up. You just want to put a little bit of heat on this little shoulder, and then that'll loosen the Loctite that's on these things here. You can see the factory's even got Loctite, and we'll put Loctite back on them. That'll loosen that up and allow you to get them off. So I'm going to set this aside. Clean this up, surface up here just a little bit. Alrighty. Then we'll want to go ahead and get our brake rotor on here. Okay, I got this all clean here. I'm going to go ahead and stick our rotor back on. Slide this on, being very careful with it. Get it lined up here. You want to put a little bit of Loctite on your bolts. Okay, it's the last one down here in the bottom. Start trying to tighten these up here. I didn't think that one was in there. There we go. Now, the key with these things here, again, check your manual for the torque specs. I'm not putting out the torque specs. You can look those up. They're different for each bike. Also, some stuff I like torque and some I don't. So I'm not going to really torque these things. But there's a couple things here. So on these screws here, they've got shoulders on them. So it's not bad to pull your brake rotor out so you're not smashing it down and they go in good. You want to tighten this thing up evenly. So do a crisscross pattern, but what you want to do is just bring it on slowly anyway. I'm not talking about bringing one down till it's tight, bringing down the other one's tight. Just go around, few threads. That'll keep that thing from cocking. You don't want to bend this thing. So we're going to just get the ratchet going the right direction here. We're going to just sit there and run these things down just a little bit. Run down each side here. Come on, darn it. And now I'm just going to bring it to where it's snug. Snug up this side here. The bottom. And we'll snug them here, up on the top here as well. There we go. So at this point here, stick something here in my rear axle so hold it. We can go ahead and just tighten these up here a little bit. Again, you want to just go down. I need to get an extension. Hold on a second, let me get an extension. Alright, that'll make it a little bit easier there. Alright, you just want to go easy with these things. Again, do a crisscross pattern. You don't want to over torque them or torque them on one side more than the other. Otherwise you'll get, it'll warp really bad on you. You don't want that after replacing a brand new one. So again, check the torque on yours. Whatever, I don't know what this one here is supposed to be, but whatever it is exactly what I'm doing. I've got my hand calibrated exactly to the right amount. Let me just go around one more time and check these, and this will be good to go. Everything's down nice and smooth. Let's do just a double check. Okay, so it's looking good. All right, it's looking good. All right, that is done. So, all right, so our next step we want to do here, I'm going to flip our caliper back over. Hopefully you can see this. We want to stick an old pad, brake pad in here. And then what I like to do, I'm going to get a set of channel locks. I'm not sure if this is going to be long enough on this one. I need to get a bigger set. But what you want to do is push your pistons back in, because the new pads are going to be thicker and you're not going to be able to get them on. So by using an old pad, you can just sit here and very gently push them back. There's really not much to see here, but just gently push the pistons in. Okay, so we want to take now, here, before we put our brake pads on, want to take just a little bit of brake cleaner and spray it down on our rotor here. And we'll wipe it off really good. Now that it made a big mess, this will get the residue off of these things that's on them. Clean them up a little bit. All right, so let's stick our, ready for our pads here. Open these up. Okay, got those ready. All right, so something here also important. We're going to stick our bracket on here. This is like the little glide bracket. So it's important to get some type of brake caliper grease. So this is Yamaha Lube. brake caliper grease, you don't want to use regular grease or any other type of stuff on it. You'll want to get brake caliper grease. This stuff's specially designed for this. It doesn't goop up, it doesn't run out, doesn't get hot, it doesn't get all over your brakes. So you just put a little bit on there. That's probably too much. And you want to put them on these 2 pins right here. So put them on really good, lube them up. This keeps your caliper floating nice and smoothly. It doesn't bind, it doesn't catch. And so we'll just put it on. Again, you don't want a ton, you just want it on there. Now we'll slide this together here, so like so. Now it's nice and smooth. Then we'll take our brake pads here. We'll slide these in like so. These are thick. I think my darn one of my pistons slid back out. So I'm gonna very gently get that back in. Sometimes when you push one out, the other one comes back out. I think that's what happens here. Just gotta see if I can do a little bit of a sideways. Yeah, it's not gonna be able to work with that one. Okay, so I've pushing my brake pads. One of them slid out a little bit there, but I was also looking there. I didn't have this thing one going down in here. So if you got one of these parking brakes, you might have to back this off as well to get to go all the way back to where it needs to go. So anyway, let's go ahead and now we'll get back. Those are hopefully will stay in there. We'll go ahead and put our arm thing back in there. I don't know what you call that. We'll slide our brake pads on. Down inside here. Like so. Okay. Now we want to stick our brake pins in. Now I don't have my new ones in here. So unfortunately I'm just going to stick these old ones back in here, and I'm going to stick them in just hand tight. Yeah. And you got to push down on them a little bit there to get the holes to line up. And I probably should just clean these up a little bit more. Then we'll just kind of screw them down in there. There we go. Down there and there. Yeah, that's good enough. All right. Now, hopefully, everything goes right. We can slide our, get my brake pad over here just a little bit. Make sure I get them opened up all the way. There we go. And now we can slide this right over. Hopefully, if we got everything opened up. Again, you may have to force them a little bit because everything's brand new. You just want to be careful. Try to get these opened up all the way that you can. Sometimes they'll... There you go. Whew. Okay, we'll slide those on. Now, we just take our bolts and get them back in here. There we go. That one of them lined up. And the other one's lined up. Alrighty. Well, that's really it, folks. I don't want to tighten these up. I got to pull these pins up. I'm going to finish tightening up these 2 bolts I just stuck in here. I got to do some more stuff on mine. Obviously, put the hub back on. Make sure everything's in good shape. A couple other notes here. You know, depending on what you're doing with your brake, if you're having problems with brakes, especially if you're having problems with brake fades, make sure you get started off with a good set of brakes like I got here. Make sure your rotor's in good shape. So this is all brand new, ready to go. But it's a good deal here, especially if you really, you know, ride hard. Getting a good, this is actually a steel braided line. It's covered in plastic, but this is a steel braided line. It doesn't expand like a standard rubber line does. So putting a good steel braided line, putting some good quality, high temp, high pressure brake fluid in this thing as well. So like if your brake fluid's over 2 years, they always recommend to change it about every 2 years. This stuff's in here is pretty new, so I'm not doing that today. But replace with a really good quality brake fluid. Try upgrading to a steel braided line. That'll about end your brake fade problems. You can get on these things in the worst conditions, and I got a hard pedal all the time with this stuff here. But you got to get a good quality set of brakes. Again, your brake rotor's got to be in good shape here. I like these, just the factory ones from Yamaha. They work really good for me. And then, again, I upgraded to steel braided lines front and rear. I run Maxima Racing brake fluid in there, and the combination of those things there really gives me a good set of brakes. But this is really it. It's really easy to do. Getting these rotors off, front and rear, if you have to replace them. Sometimes those bolts are a little tough. The front ones, you can pull the hubs off. Again, the rotors bolt to the back of the hubs, like right here they'd bolt, so to speak. That's kind of nice because you're on the bench, you can take it on there and you can heat them up. But again, even on the front ones, if this was a front hub, they're going to have seals back on here. So when you heat that one up, you got to be very careful with your seals. Be very careful with your axle seal here if you're applying any heat to it there. But just go slow. These will come off. You don't want to strip them out. Try to avoid stripping out these Allen heads on there. That would really suck for you, trying to get those out. If you do any damage to them whatsoever, again, get a new bolt. Don't try to put those old nasty ones back in there. They're pretty cheap. Then that way the next time you go to take them off, they'll come off. But that's it. This is how to do a brake job. It is very easy with these things here. If, again, you want to do an inspection, you know, one thing I didn't do, my calipers were in good shape. If your pistons in there were all leaking and stuff like that, they make a rebuild kit. You can either buy a new caliper, or they make a rebuild kit. And basically what you do is you just slide those pistons out. There's seals on the inside of here. You put new seals on, slide the piston back in. Obviously make sure everything's clean. That typically fixes that for a lot cheaper than replacing that. But the seals don't go bad very often. They were in good shape on this one. But this one here is ready to go. It's got, again, brand new pads, brand new rotor. Again, I got steel braided brake lines already, and it's already got fresh brake fluid in there. So this is really, really good. So that's it. That's how to do a brake job. Simple and easy. Again, the front's the same. It's just a different way you take off your hubs. And there's obviously 2 of them. And with that, take care.